I used to be a Weird Warriors kid. Now I'm a Weird Warriors adult. Each week, I'm discussing a chapter of the iconic books by Aaron Hunter. My name is Charlie, and in today's episode, I will be talking about Prophecies Begin, Book 2, Fire and Ice, Chapter 6. Join me on this adventure into the world of warrior cats. Before I dive into today's episode, a quick reminder that if you'd like access to the comment section, bonus episodes, and spoiler extended versions of each episode, then you can subscribe for just $5 a month on Substack. Now on to the episode. Chapter 6 begins with Fireheart and Graystripe standing face to face with WindClan in their tunnel. From behind the line of warriors, a black and white Tom weaved his way to the front, and Fireheart recognizes him from his dream. Tallstar, leader of WindClan, and Tallstar smells them, and out loud he identifies them as ThunderClan, and he says, "I was expecting ShadowClan. Why are you here?" And Fireheart says, "We came to find you. Bluestar and the other clan leaders want you to return to your home." Now, it's just Bluestar. The other clan leaders don't want WindClan to come back, so I'm hoping that doesn't lead to any problems. And Tallstar says, "That land is not safe for my clan anymore." There was a hunted look in Tallstar's eye that sent a pang of sorrow through Fireheart. But Fireheart says that ShadowClan drove out Broken Star, and Tallstar and the rest of WindClan seem surprised by this. Fireheart says that they need to return as soon as possible because WindClan and RiverClan want to start hunting in their territory, and that they even saw a RiverClan patrol trying to hunt, but they were not good at hunting rabbits, so they probably returned home with empty bellies. And to that, Tallstar and his warriors purred with satisfaction. And Fireheart asks, "May we travel with you?" And Tallstar says, "Yes, thank you." And he and Graystripe introduce themselves, and Tallstar says, "Fireheart." Sunlight was flooding through the gap in the roof now, making Fireheart's orange pelt glow in the dim tunnel. "The name suits you." Another monster roared overhead, and I just feel like that moment specifically is very cinematic, so I hope in the TV show they capture the timing and the tone of voice and the sound effects very well, and the light making Fireheart's pelt glow. I think that all could be a very beautiful scene. And Tallstar says, "We shall leave at once. Are we all fit for the journey?" And an unnamed mottled brown warrior says, "All except Morningflower's Kit. He is too young." And Tallstar says, "Then we should take turns carrying him." Now I'm wondering who this Kit is. Is he going to be an important character later? And the Kit is very young. Its eyes are hardly open. And Fireheart and Graystripe and WindClan emerge from the tunnel. And many of the cats, especially the elders, are really blinking and squinting in the weak sunlight. So many of them probably haven't come out of the tunnel in a long time. And Fireheart asks if they can lead them back the way they came, since it seemed to be a shortcut. Tallstar asks if it's safe, and Graystripe assures him that it is, and Tallstar agrees to take that route. He has Graystripe join him to show him the way, and he tells Fireheart to travel with the rest of the clan and to tell his deputy if he sees any trouble. And Tallstar points Fireheart toward the Black Tom, Deadfoot. So they all travel accordingly. They go back under the Thunderpath arch bridge, highway overpass thing. And then they reach the field where the two legs had been, and now they are gone. And then they make their way to the tunnel, and they all go through, and they keep traveling onward. And with some of the elders and Morningflower with her kit falling behind, Deadfoot asks Tallstar to travel more slowly, and Fireheart offers to help Morningflower carry her kit, and she agrees. So Fireheart carries the kit for a little while until they reach the Thunder Path, and Graystripe introduces Fireheart to a warrior named One Whisker, who I guess he had been walking with near Tallstar at the front. So finally we're getting another WindClan Cats name for Fireheart to know. I feel like there are so many different cats that are mentioned in this chapter, but we don't get most of their names. And that's like the limitations of a first person. Well, I guess it's a third person perspective, but it's limited, so we don't get information besides in the prologues that Fireheart does not know. But it just makes me want to pay close attention to see if there is continuity with which cats are described and then which cats are named later, and see if we can match up who was who, you know. But anyway, they make a plan to cross the Thunder Path in groups, and Tallstar agrees with this plan. So the strongest cats go first, led by One Whisker, and then two warriors came next, accompanied by a pair of skinny elders. Now, Fireheart ordered, as a monster flashed safely past. And I just think the wording of Fireheart ordered is interesting. Like, it's not saying Fireheart suggested or anything like that. Like, even though Fireheart is not the leader, he's kind of acting like one while still showing a lot of respect to Tallstar and making sure everything's okay with him before they make big decisions of what to do next. But Tallstar is also showing a lot of trust in Fireheart and letting him kind of take the lead in these moments. And those four WindClan cats make it across just as a monster races past right behind them. And then two larger groups cross, and then there's just one left. Only once they were safely over would Tallstar and Deadfoot cross. And Morningflower is among the last cats, and Fireheart offers to take her kit, but she pulls back, flattening her ears, and Fireheart understands that she and her kit would live or die together. Now, at Graystripe's yowl, Fireheart and Morningflower step out onto the Thunder Path, and the remaining elders follow behind them with Graystripe by their side. Now, this is a very suspenseful scene where I feel like it would be really exciting to watch in the TV show. The elders are very slowly limping across the road, and Fireheart can hear a monster roaring in the distance. He tells Morningflower to hurry on ahead, and he and Graystripe will help the elders. And Morningflower stumbles forward. Her kit squealed as it bumped against the hard ground. When I first read that, I thought it meant like she dropped her kit, and that would have been adding to the drama of the situation. Maybe they could add that to the TV show, but it does kind of give the same energy of like someone tripping on air while being chased by a horror monster, you know, like it's just adding suspense for suspense's sake. So maybe actually not, but I think it's just describing like she's trying to carry the kit and maybe its hind paws are kind of bumping against the ground as she's running across. But the elders, it makes sense why they are going more slowly because they're old. And Fireheart grabs one of them by the scruff and drags him forward before turning to haul the second closer to the verge. And the monster gets even closer, and Fireheart closes his eyes to brace himself, and then there's a screech, and then a fading roar of the monster. And Fireheart opens his eyes and turns to see Graystripe in the middle of the Thunder Path, eyes wide as full moons, and one elder is between them and two other right near the verge. So I guess the car had swerved Maybe the driver saw the cats and it had missed them all. That could have been a lot worse, so I'm glad they're all safe. So they make it across, and Tallstar and Deadfoot follow after, and One Whisker tells Fireheart, "You would have died for us. WindClan will never forget that." And Tallstar says, "One Whisker is right. We shall honor you both in our stories." And Fireheart asks Morningflower if her kit is all right. She says yes, and he says, "What about you?" And she does not reply. I think that's very sad, but I feel like a lot of mothers could relate to that, where they care more about their kids' well-being than their own, and you got to take care of yourself too, you know. But a Grey Queen, who I'm pretty sure is Ashfoot from the prologue, says, "Don't worry, I'll take the kit next." And the clan continues onward, and they're all getting tired, and the sun is getting lower. Fireheart smells the air hopefully as they near the two-leg place, but he still detects no scent of Ravenpaw. He worries that he should never have sent his friend here alone. And then it starts to rain, and the herbs that Fireheart and Graystripe had taken to ward off hunger for this journey are wearing off, and they both start to get hungry. And Fireheart suggests to Tallstar that they should stop soon to shelter for the night, and Tallstar agrees. He says there's a ditch here, we can shelter in that. But Graystripe and Fireheart look at each other and they're like, maybe let's just stay here under the hedgerow because rats live in that ditch. And Tallstar agrees. And the queens and elders flop down, exhausted, and the warriors and apprentices start to discuss hunting patrols. And then they hear a rustling sound, and Fireheart smells a familiar scent and says, "Ravenpaw." Oh my god, this makes me so excited and happy. When it was saying that there was no sign of Ravenpaw, I was getting worried that it was going to be even more delayed, that we would reunite with Ravenpaw. I could not remember when they see him again, so every time they got close to this area, I would wonder, just like Fireheart, if we would see Ravenpaw. What had happened to the skinny, scared black apprentice? This cat was plump and sleek, and his fur, usually so dull before, now shed the rain like a holly leaf. I think this description really reflects like how people are in real life, where when they're in an abusive relationship or some kind of life situation that's really bringing them down, you can see they like turn gray. You know, they are really not themselves. They're a shell of themselves. But when they escape that situation and they are allowed to thrive and feel safe and not live in fear, their spark returns and they can really be themselves. "Firepaw," Ravenpaw meowed in delight. "Fireheart," Graystripe corrected him. "We're warriors now. I'm Graystripe." And Deadfoot snarls, "Do you know this cat?" And Fireheart realizes he shouldn't have said Ravenpaw's name so loud. He hoped Tallstar's warriors had been too distracted to hear it. If WindClan mentioned it at a gathering, it would spread through the clans like a forest fire. Ravenpaw was supposed to be dead. One Whisker asks if he's a loner, and Fireheart says he can help us find food. And Ravenpaw says he knows all the best places to hunt in the area. And Fireheart is surprised that Ravenpaw doesn't look scared at all under all the stares of the hostile WindClan cats. Deadfoot demands, "Why would a loner help us?" And Graystripe says, "Loners have helped us before. Another saved us from a rat attack near here." Ravenpaw bows his head and says, "Let me help you. I owe my life to Fireheart and Graystripe. If they're traveling with you, then you must be friends." He says he'll go and find Barley, who can help too. And he runs off, and Tallstar's eyes burned with curiosity, but all he asked Fireheart was, "Can we trust him?" Now I'm wondering if that is implying that Tallstar did hear the name and is connecting the dots in his head and wondering, why is a former ThunderClan apprentice now a loner? But if he is thinking that, he's keeping that to himself. Fireheart says that they can trust him completely. And soon Ravenpaw returns with Barley, and Barley leads them to Shelter, which is an abandoned two-leg place. I'm pretty sure this is what Barley's farm is on the map, which is then making me wonder, what's the two-leg place that they're always passing by with the dogs? Is that on this map at all? And I always pictured Ravenpaw and Barley living in a barn, but this just seems to be described as an abandoned house. But two-leg place, it could be a barn, it could be a house. I'm not sure if these cats would be able to really know the difference, but it's not like they're describing there's a bunch of hay in there or anything. And WindClan is worried about going into a two-leg place. An apprentice says, I'm not surprised he wants to hide in a two-leg nest. Once a kitty pet, always a kitty pet. And Fireheart is kind of thrown off by this because he hadn't heard the insult in a while. He realizes the gossip probably spread at the gatherings when he had first arrived. And he says to the apprentice, you've spent 2 moons living in a two-leg tunnel. Does that make you a rat? And the apprentice ruffles his fur, but Graystripe diffuses the situation and says, come on, we're just getting wetter the longer we stand here. And Tallstar says we've faced worse than a two-leg shelter. So they go inside. The ground was bare except for patches of weeds, and there were gaps in the walls and roof, but it was drier than anywhere they could have sheltered outside. And Barley says you all should be resting, Raven, and then Fireheart cuts him off, which I think is a good instinct by Fireheart once again, because he's protecting Ravenpaw from being found out. But Fireheart asks Barley and Ravenpaw, why don't you two show me and Graystripe the best places to hunt around here? And Tallstar says Deadfoot and One Whisker will go with you. So they all go into the nearby woods, and they are able to find some prey, which surprises me because it's pouring rain, and it even says that the voles and mice wouldn't stand a chance. Now, does that mean they wouldn't stand a chance against being hunted? Meaning it would make it easier to hunt them? Because I thought that meant they wouldn't stand a chance against the rain, meaning they'd be hiding and the warriors would not be able to find them anywhere. But it must be the first, because it cuts to them returning with enough prey for the entire clan. And Barley says, I'm off. Rats to catch. And they basically have a goodbye scene with Barley, which I feel like is kind of odd timing. Like, they could have waited to say goodbye to Barley. Barley could have waited, like they just went hunting. Why do you have to go into the rain to catch more rats? Couldn't you just wait until morning or wait until it stops raining and like just settle with them for the night and then say bye to Fireheart later? But I don't know, maybe he didn't want to intrude on the clan or something. I don't know. But Barley says, thanks for sending Ravenpaw to me. He's turning into a fine ratter. And it's good to share a meal with a fellow cat from time to time. I ship it. Fireheart asks if he's happy here, and Barley says, ask him yourself. And then he disappears into the night. Fireheart tells Tallstar that he and Graystripe and Ravenpaw will take turns keeping watch for the night, and Tallstar agrees. So Tallstar is really showing a lot of respect and trust to Fireheart, because he's the leader and he's willing to risk the safety of his clan already for many steps. But I guess Fireheart has proven that he is trustworthy, but still, I don't know, it is risky to let a cat keep watch over your clan when you just met. But Tallstar is exhausted, like he needs his rest too. So WindClan goes to sleep, and Fireheart goes to his friends out of earshot of the clan and asks Ravenpaw what happened after we left you. Ravenpaw says he went straight to WindClan territory, and Graystripe asks about the dogs. And Ravenpaw says they were loose, but he waited until dawn when they were tied up again, and then he found Barley, who's been great. I think he likes having me around. They're so cute together. But then Ravenpaw asks about what they told Tigerclaw. Fireheart says we said you'd been killed by a Shadow Clan patrol. And then 2 WindClan apprentices approach And they immediately switch up the topic. Ravenpaw says, "Oh yes, we loners eat clan apprentices whenever we can catch one." And one of the apprentices says, "You don't scare us." Ravenpaw says, "Really? Well, I guess your meat would be tough and stringy anyway." And one asks Fireheart, "How come you're such good friends with a loner?" Fireheart says, "A wise warrior makes friends whenever he can. If it weren't for this loner, we'd still be cold and hungry." I think this is a very good pivot that Ravenpaw and Fireheart make in the conversation. I think they handled this perfectly, and the apprentices walk away. Ravenpaw says, "So ThunderClan thinks I'm dead. Well, it's probably for the best." And he offers to keep watch overnight, and he licks each of his old friends on the head. And then they go to sleep, and when Fireheart wakes up, Ravenpaw is gone. And again, this confuses me. Why didn't Ravenpaw wait for the clan to wake up? If he was keeping watch, he should have been waiting until they woke up to ensure that they were all safe. And also, we could have gotten a goodbye scene with Ravenpaw. Like, "Hope to see you again. Like, thank you so much." I guess they kind of had that scene before they went to sleep. But I don't know. I just think it's weird how Barley and Ravenpaw left the scene. And this is a really pretty visual detail. It says, "The clouds were tinged by the rosy glow of the rising sun, and they looked like blossoms floating across a pond." It's so beautiful. And then a short-tailed brown tom looks up at the clouds with Fireheart and yowls and brings WindClan crowding nearer. Morningflower asks, "What is it, Barkface? Has StarClan spoken to you?" So this is WindClan's medicine cat. And Barkface says, "The clouds are stained with blood. It is a sign from our ancestors. This day shall bring an unnecessary death." And that is the end of chapter 6. Oh my gosh, they are good at cliffhangers in this series. I think it's interesting that Fireheart was admiring these beautiful clouds in the sky, and Barkface looked at it and was like, "The clouds are stained with blood. Someone's gonna die today." Like, two very different interpretations of the clouds. It's like when you're looking at clouds and identifying shapes with someone, and you see two completely different things, except this actually has stakes to it. So I guess we'll see who's gonna die in the next chapter. That is very suspenseful. But yeah, I think this is a great chapter. I'm very excited we finally reunited with Ravenpaw, and they convinced WindClan to return to the clan. So these are very exciting things happening in this chapter. And yeah, it just makes me want to keep reading and see what happens next. But we'll have to find out what happens next week. So thank you so much for being here. This has been Into the World of Warrior Cats.